Hi guys, Shannon Shine here. I am going to be taking this older painting that I did in a paint party like several years ago, and I'm hoping to just transform it into something way cooler. I thought that this would be a good place to start. A lot of people have been asking me for just different painting techniques and the opportunity to learn how to paint. Oh man, my music literally died as soon as I got on here. Okay, that's fine. I'll get it back in a second. So what I'm going to do is create a painting from a recycled canvas. And I think that that is something important to do right now because so many people want to be able to do something. I can't really see comments yet, so I'm going to have to step back to look at comments. But people want to be able to do something with materials that they already have. And I think that is important because we can't just go out to the store and buy a new canvas. So this is a canvas that I had, and I didn't finish it. I started teaching a class and I started doing things with other people, and it just never got finished. So real quick, while I'm hoping people will share this and join in, I'm going to grab my charger for my laptop. If you're in here, leave me a comment. Let me know. We're going to be creating an abstract today. 1 second here. Find my charger. I promise, guys, I tried to be organized. So, again, we're going to be creating an abstract, and my goal with this is to remind you guys that you don't have to start with a blank canvas every time. Excuse me while I plug in. And what's important about that is you can use anything as a canvas. So I'm using an old canvas right now, and you can use a piece of wood. You could use a canvas that was already painted on at the store. You could use just a piece of paper or whatever seems to work for you. It doesn't have to be a blank canvas. So I just have some paint here that I already had out, some different colors that I was working with, and sometimes I'll work on another painting for hours and I'll just have leftover paint. I don't want to waste the paint, especially right now when I can't go out and about. So what I'll do is I'll just take whatever paint that I have, and this is going to be abstract, so you might see some of this under there, but that's not going to matter because I'm just going to have fun and kind of color over it with just random paint right now. Nothing too crazy. And it's going to look really messy at first. Like, I have no goal here other than to make something abstract and to recycle this piece. So we're just going to kind of cover all of this. And again, I would love to hear who's there, who's out there. I'm trying to get some music back up. I usually don't do streams because Facebook doesn't let me play my music. And I personally really love to paint to music. I think it gives it a whole new energy. And I want to be able to see you guys comment. So, waiting on my laptop to come back. And until then, just going to keep kind of like adding some abstract things here. And this is really fun and relaxing through the chaos because my goal is to just kind of let energy out and to flow with the painting and to recycle, because it's always good to recycle. So, again, who's out there, who's checking in? I'm glad that you guys are finding so many awesome streams on the internet right now. There's so many people doing so many cool things. I have a lot of friends that are doing live streams that I'm really proud of with their music, and we've been doing roundtable discussions with Bring Me to Life on Tuesdays, so that's been really inspiring. I'm curious what kind of things are inspiring and helping you get through this very chaotic time that is life. Is it art? Is it music? Is it friends? it took me a little while to get back into painting because I felt like I had a different form of inspiration kind of coming in from all this. But now it feels good to just get in here and recycle some old canvases. I'm currently quarantined with all of my art supplies, which is really awesome, but kind of also really overwhelming. So I'm just kind of recycling, getting rid of things that I think need updated. Obviously this needed something done to it. And the reason I'm going with abstract is because you can still kind of see the texture from the other painting underneath, which I think is kind of cool. I'll give you guys a close-up on that here in a little bit. But I'm working on just kind of covering this whole canvas with fresh wet paint. And while I do that, I'm going to see if I can get some music back up and see your comments, because I think that it would be cool to know who's hanging out here with me. If you're hanging out here with me, are you painting? Are you just kind of chilling, looking for some entertainment? Like, what are you doing? Music is hopefully on the way. And bam. This is, if I can get it to play, music by Ramses B, which my friend Ashton helped me find so that Facebook hopefully won't flag me. So the other cool thing about abstract is it's not only meditative, but you can just use what you have. Like I like I said, to use paint that would have otherwise just dried up on my palette. Man, technology today is giving me all of the issues. And right now I've just been dry brushing it a lot, which means that I haven't added any water to my brush. I just keep dipping back into paint. And right now it definitely looks like I'm making a mess. But I hope that it ends up being pretty cool. Alright. Now that my ancient computer has loaded, I have music and I can see your comments, so this is great. I feel like I'll be able to get in the further now. So now I am going to add some water, because I really want to get this covered. And I'm going to be adding a lot of layers to this to give it some fun texture. Let's see if I can get you guys a little closer. And I'm just using acrylic paints, just kind of spreading them all around right now. This is also good if you have paintings where your edges have just gotten messed up and you're just over it. You want something new to see in your space. So why not make it? Alright, so like I said, you can kind of see the texture from the painting I had before behind it. So I actually have like a sponge here. I like to use sponges. I have a cloth that I've dedicated to it. And I like to give things texture. So I'm just kind of going to go in. I'm going to dip it in my water even a little. And I'm going to give this texture. Might even like drip some of the water down it. I do kind of want to see some of that kind of like Starry Night underpainting I had under here. So I'm just kind of playing using colors that bring me joy. I'll let that dry for a second. And take this in here. So then, you can take another kind of brush, you can take a palette knife. I'm going to take this real kind of like funky brush. It's been very seasoned. It's got some funky ends to it. I'm going to use it to kind of add some other textures in here. I'm just kind of like dropping some white and some colors in. And again, I'm just recycling a canvas, so I don't have a whole lot of worry or expectation. Like, this piece of canvas has already had a lifespan, even if it wasn't a full lifespan. Like, I didn't finish the painting on it before. So anything I do on it now is better than nothing. How many of you out there have started a painting and just not vibed with it anymore? Like, it just wasn't your thing. You wanted to just stop, you didn't like it, you did something on it that didn't quite make you as happy, and you don't have to leave your canvas on an easel. I think that is a misconception. You can turn your canvas different directions. I'm just kind of making like a little bit of a magical type background. Go back in and take some of that color off so it's not as bold. And I like to use a rag because then I'm not wasting a bunch of paper towels, because you know you can't just go out and get random paper towels or toilet paper or whatever right now. So I'm just using everything I've kind of had on hand. I got this ripped up old sponge, an old recycled canvas, an old rag, brushes that I've had. Most people have some sort of brushes. If you don't have brushes though, you can use something that inspires you. I often use Q-tips. In fact, I have some here, and I think we're gonna use them here in a minute after I let this dry. And I'm just gonna look and see if there's any comments. Let's see if I can give you guys kind of a closer up of what's happening right now. It's not quite as vibrant on the video. So, you know, that means if someone took a picture of it, it wouldn't be as vibrant as maybe I want it. So I'm going to add some more colors. Get your back on here. So I think I'm going to add some bright pink to it. I'm feeling like we need some neon pink in there. That makes people feel happy. Ooh, this glows under a black light, so that'll give our abstract painting even more kind of fun. And my paint made a mess on me, so rather than being upset about it, I'm just gonna scoop it off here. Kind of incorporate it in here. And this will give it a cool kind of glow-in-the-dark effect. And I'm kind of going around the edges because I want to put a focal point. As you can see, this is messy business here. I want to put a focal point kind of right here. Yeah, it might be boring. It's in the middle, but you know. And you know, I might even spin this canvas around a couple more times because your canvas has a life of its own and you should be able to just kind of navigate it. And this is how I kind of started meditating too. Like, art can be super meditative for people. I'll put a little bit here in the middle. And I'm gonna mute that out with some more white. Kind of have like this weird abstract Easter egg going on here in the middle, but it's gonna change because I think I will probably put some sort of tree there. People seem to really enjoy the trees, and I really enjoy painting trees, so I'm sure you guys would enjoy seeing a tree. I want to add a little bit of like water effect, so I'm just going to let some like paint sort of drip down here even. Now, my art teacher may have even yelled at me. Not all of them, but some art teachers are like, "What are you doing? There's no plan here. I'm just having fun." And I think that's what's really important. And you can kind of let that happen, or you can do this and kind of give it more texture. So again, you don't have to leave it flat. Down here it came up a little bit more than I would like, so I'm just gonna put some more color in it. No mistakes, just happy accidents over here. And I am just kind of making a little bit of a mess. Alright, I'm going to give that a minute to dry before I mess too much with it. Oh, maybe. Most of this is going to be kind of covered by what I see I'm going to do. So I'm just going to let that happen. Who do I have watching? I know I haven't had too many viewers, but I'm curious who's out there. Who is viewing? Who's joining me here? What do you think of my abstract mess I have going on? Do you paint? Would you like to paint? I would love to hear from you. I have some of this metallic paint that somebody gifted me. It's not the exact paint that I use when I make copper jewelry, because the other paint I have to use is conductive. But since this isn't conductive, I like to use it for painting. So I'm going to use a little bit of it and add some metallic, kind of shiny vibes here. I'm just going to use what's on the lid. I'm going to take this kind of funky brush that I had before. I'm going to add some shine to this. So not only does it glow, but now it's shiny. Let's just do all the things. Why not? Sometimes I don't like easels because they make my painting hard to reach, but I'm making it work today. I'm actually an artist that would sometimes rather just paint flat than on an easel at all, but sometimes that's frowned upon. So I added some kind of copper metallic-y color to the outside, and I said we were going to use some Q-tips, so I'm going to use some of them now, and I'll probably use some later. So it's definitely easier if you have like a little rubber band or a hair tie you can use to kind of hold them in place, but they give some neat texture. Sorry, that noise is probably annoying. Just showing that you can use something other than just a brush. And I'm going to kind of blend here. Doesn't all have to be uniform because this is abstract. Alright. So I put some copper on, and now I have this kind of cheaper other metallic paint here, silver. And I kind of want to use it too. So, just get a little bit of it out. And I'm going to take a totally dry brush and get just a little bit of it in. Scrub that kind of here in the middle. Now, I definitely would usually let this dry a lot more. It's not really drying super quickly because I have so many layers on it. But it is acrylic and not oil, so it doesn't take as long to dry. So some of my layers under there are dry. And you can't see it as well in this video, but it's now got like a full kind of shimmer, glimmer type shine to it. Let's see if I put the light on it better. That doesn't really help. We're all learning how to do live streams here, guys. Welcome to 2020. Alright, so I've got my canvas that was once like a Starry Night kind of weird but simple paint party theme that I was just really bored with. It wasn't doing me any sort of relaxing. I wanted to do something more fun, relaxing, and I just mixed a bunch of colors on here. You can't really see the old canvas at all. There's a little bit of it if you are in person, but there was a horizon line right about here you can kind of see. And I'm going to turn this into a willow tree because that's one of my more popular things that people seem to really enjoy watching me paint. And to do that, what I'm going to do is the first layer of it is going to actually be some of the leaves, which might not make a whole lot of sense to people. They might be like, why are you doing that before you do the trunk? And it's how I add depth to it. And I just sacrificed one of my hair ties to put my Q-tips together here. And I'm going to use some of the paint in the colors that I had before. Just kind of have some blues and purples and pinks. And I'm going to use the darker colors first, because what I'm about to create is the further away parts of the tree. So I am going to actually get a little bit more of a darker purple here. Let's see. Alright. Put my lid back so I don't spill all my cool metallic paint. And here we go. So I'm gonna just stick the Q-tips again in these darker colors, and I just dap it in the purple and the blue at the same time. Don't really blend them. And I'm gonna kind of see where I want my tree to go. And I'm gonna start creating kind of the branches, the falling branches in parts of the willow tree. And it's not going to be full, it's just kind of building. It's building the depth. So this is the furthest away part of the tree that you're going to kind of see through some of the branches. Again, I'm just using darker colors right now. And I'm bringing them down so that it looks kind of like the branches are just heavy with flowers and growth. Maybe there's a branch that reaches out just a little bit further. And you can go back and add to it. And again, it doesn't have to look full. And this is abstract, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I like using silhouettes and kind of just the imagery. Alright, so it kind of looks like a weird, trippy jellyfish right now, but it's okay. I'm going to get some black and brown so that I can make the tree trunk. So I'm just kind of letting that dry for a second while I mix some paint. You guys may hear my partner CeeLo come home soon. He's getting back from helping. He works with some veterans and helps them make sure they're okay. So he'll be coming home from work soon. Just kind of letting this dry. I did a podcast earlier, recorded a couple with some friends. It's been a pretty eventful day, so I'm excited to be here with you guys. I'd love to know who's watching. Alright, so this part is sometimes harder for me to do on the canvas, on the easel. So you might see me move it around, but I'm going to do my best to just kind of, go for it. And I'm going to make a cool little tree that kind of just has some roots here. I'm just going to kind of outline it first. And the longer you let that dry, honestly, the better. But I want you guys to be able to see this and then kind of play with it on your own if you need to. just felt like being present on the internet today. I guess this is kind of like a, hey, look at me, I'm still out here, but you know, people asked me for a paint video, and I thought I would oblige. If you like them, I will do more. Give me some ideas of what you'd like to see me paint. And I've just kind of got black and brown mixed in here. That way it's not just a solid color. I just wanted to give it a little bit of, not really blended, but multiple tones. This is where you gotta be careful if you don't let it dry, that you don't just stick your hand in it and mess everything up. Which many a person has done. And you find a way to fix it. Now I'm gonna go in with the Q-tips and make another layer over top of this, branches, so they don't have to be perfect. Look at this paintbrush. This paintbrush is like so bent. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna switch brushes because I have a ridiculous amount of them. I don't know why I'm using a bent one. Alright. I'm just going to keep adding branches here. And if you're watching, drop something in the comments that you are, what are you grateful for today? I would love to know, what's something you are grateful for? Just adding in some branches. And my paint's kind of too wet right there to mess with. So just gonna give it a minute and let it dry. Should have brought my hairdryer down, but I didn't want to mess with that on the live feed. Alright. Let's see. Who is here? Anybody? That's okay. Doing it all for fun. Hi Jessica, thanks. Thanks for loving those smooth brush strokes. Earlier I was making a mess, making a bunch of messy brush strokes. And I think that's the fun of painting and doing abstract, is you just get to enjoy all of the different vibes. You can be messy, you can be real particular, but today just felt like a good day to go with the flow. I'm going to add one here because I'm going to add some layers over that. Alright, so I have a little tree here, and now I want to add another layer of the blossoms on it, and I have this neon pink, purple, And then I have some white and even some kind of like runny silver here on this one. And I'm going to just use up a bunch of this paint and mix them together like I did before and add this top layer. Got a big blob right there, but I'll fix that in a minute. And you're gonna go right over some of what you just painted, being careful to not smear it too much, especially if you used straight black. But you want to kind of see it through it so that it looks like it would in sort of real life, even though it's abstract. Like, you're gonna see the branches through the trees. You're not just gonna have just blossoms, you're gonna have both. So you want to make sure you have that background, that foreground, and give it some life. So I got a little too much paint there in that one spot, and I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna take some of this blue back in, bring out the background, and let that dry while I mess with some of the other areas. I'm gonna add some white in here. Got brown on my Q-tips. Let me get that off. All right. Back in. And this part gets kind of messy, but what I'm gonna do is, after I get the tree kind of how I like it, I'm gonna add some of these branches and brighten up that tree trunk a little bit more. I kind of got like some brighter areas, some darker areas, and that's kind of just where the sun might be hitting it, you know. Again, we're just having fun, making some abstract painting mess today. Alright, the easel's kind of getting on my nerves. Can you guys still see that? There we go. Typically, I would lay this flat on a table, which maybe I can even do. Nah, it won't bend right now. So that I have a little bit more control over the actual canvas. And we're just kind of layering some texture in there to give it some leafy, blossomy look. So I'm gonna let that dry for a second, and I'm gonna add some texture around the edge here. So I put this copper color here, but it didn't actually like come as bright as I wanted. So what I'm gonna do is use some kind of modeling paste, which is a thicker version of paint. Something I just kind of had here. And I'm gonna add some texture to the corners to increase that abstract vibe and give me something to do while the rest of the paint dries. So this stuff's like thicker. I don't know if you can see it. It's like way thicker than some of the other paint that I've been using. So that's gonna give us a lot of texture. It's gonna dry thicker. And since I had texture already on the canvas from the previous painting and I'm recycling it, I'm going to use this palette knife and add more texture to the painting. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of like smear some around. Kind of pull some off so you can still see the copper. And I know you guys might not have modeling paste or paint if you're just at home kind of recycling too, but use what you have. Be creative. I'm sure there's things you can use. Maybe you have Palmer clay and it can dry on it, or Mod Podge, and you can paint pieces of magazine to it to give it texture and then wait for it to dry. I used to do that when I was a kid. But I'm just kind of giving these corners some different life. And I've had this kind of modeling paint or thicker paste for years. It wasn't something I was huge on using in my normal practice, but I really enjoyed using it more in abstract stuff. So I have another little glob here. That's all I have, so I'm not going to get more out. I'm just going to kind of smear around what I got. So if you were looking at this in person, it's not just flat. Like a lot of paintings are just very flat. They don't have any texture to them. Not all of them. There's actually tons of them that do, but you get what I'm saying here. So let that dry. This here is starting to dry a little bit more. You can still kind of see it's wet right around here. But yeah, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more before I try to add in some final like tree spots. And I kind of want maybe a little bit more texture even around here. So I think I'm gonna take this silver that I had here that's kind of runnier and mix it with a little bit of white and get it on this brush and kind of safely, it doesn't splatter enough. I'm gonna need a bigger brush. I'm gonna take this brush because it's got more floofy ends and put some white in it. Maybe dip it in water, it'll help a little. And get that silver. And I'm gonna splatter paint it. Got a little bit on my tree, that's okay. It's okay if it gets on my trunk. I just really wanted some more mess, I guess. Because now I am definitely messy. Blah. You're not painting if you don't get somewhat messy. So I probably should have did this before I did the top layer of my tree. But it's okay. Wipe it off on my rag. And I'm just going to go back in here with my Q-tips and take it off of the actual tree. Eventually find a way to make this easel a little less frustrating. And as it dries, your paint, especially if you're using acrylics, will kind of dry darker than you might picture it drying. So you might have to go back in and add some lighter spots. Sometimes it's better if you're using Q-tips to kind of like dap off some of the excess to make sure the colors get mixed real well before you go on here too. That's my issue, why I keep having all these white spots. I didn't take time to mix them on my palette. That's okay. I'll find a way. It's not my first willow tree. Watched enough Bob Ross to know that we can fix it. I think I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. And we put this kind of like purple modeling paste around here. And now I would like to go back and add a little bit more of that copper. Actually, I'm gonna add some gold because I've added silver, I've added copper. Why not add a little bit of gold to it too? Get all those metallic-y metal colors in here. It'll give that some depth too, since I have copper underneath and the gold is just a little lighter. So I'm just kind of gonna add just a little bit around the edges. Might help if I held it far enough back. Over top of the texture. A little bit more for that other corner. Try not to put too much paint out because you can always put more out, but you can't put it back. I like to recycle containers though that have lids, like any sort of like takeout containers when I was able to eat out, or salsa containers, hummus containers. I really like to recycle with art as much as possible. There's no need for super fancy palettes, especially if you can just use something and it helps preserve it, like Chinese takeout container. These edges down here. So now I have done a lot of it. I could leave it like this. I think I'm personally going to add just a few more little additions to this tree, just because I really like messing with my trees apparently. And I feel like it just needs a little bit more definition. So, let's see here. You don't want to do too much because, like I said, you you're going to see certain branches kind of just peeking through. And if your painting is wet at all, be careful that you don't smear too much of it around. And don't push it too far. Know when to stop. So, I think I'm gonna bring this here. Cover up where I made some of my splash marks when I was adding a little bit of extra. It's got a big old branch here that kind of comes out and holds this part. And if you made it this far, or this inspired you to do your own thing, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear what you're creating. Drop a picture in the comments below. You can check out my group, Light Up Your Life. Shannon with Shannon is my podcast. If you need more inspirational content, I have free podcasts that I release on there. I did one today that made me feel better. I hope it makes other people feel something. I do them to help inspire. And I'm looking forward to doing more things with Bring Me to Life podcast and community. So if you are interested in finding out more or looking for more high vibe people or community at this time, maybe you are stuck at home alone, you need some friends, you need some community, check out Bring Me to Life with the number 2 community, bringme2life.com. We've been doing kind of Tuesday events where we will just get on a round table and discuss things and hold a chat room for others to get involved in. It's just been really fun. It's been a great way to connect and see where other people are at during this, because everybody's having a different experience. Like, I'm home painting and doing my best to help inspire others while other people are out on the front lines. Some people are delivering pizza. People are doing all kinds of things. Some people don't feel any different. For me, I've been home for several weeks. I go out for very basic necessities. And I try not to really put myself out there in the line of fire too much unless I am doing so online. And that's why I showed up here with all of you today. And I think I'm gonna leave it kind of at that. See if I can get you guys over here.